Got it.
Okay, so hi and welcome to the Tenor Guitar Happy Hour. My name is Karen Hogue and I'm here with Nick Smith of Ludo Guitars. Welcome.
Hello.
Hi,
Thanks for
so
having me.
you're welcome. So can you tell me a little bit about your background and what made you decide to build guitars and why tenor guitars specifically?
Yeah, sure. Well, I guess I started playing guitar when I was like 14 or something, and I really fell in love with it. Um, and played a lot of rock and roll and kind of, picked up songs off the radio and learned a lot of tab songs. And then I did a degree in classical guitar at the University of Moncton after that, to kind of hone my chops and learn all those things. Um, And then I kind of moved to Montreal after that, and I played in bands. But I always had in the back of my mind that I would like to build guitars, although I was like very bad with power tools and like I'm not a super handy guy. Um, but when I like something, I generally like really go all in for whatever that thing is. Anyway, so when I was always growing up, I always had this idea in the back of my mind that I'd like to like build guitars because I had a couple handmade ones that I played, and they looked great, they smelled amazing, they had a great sound, and like I was really into it. Um, and yeah, it was always like interesting talking to other people about like how guitars are made because they kind of seem really flimsy from like a carpenter's point of view or from like a framer's point of view or somebody who's looking for strength. That's like it's not how guitars should be built, I don't think. So it's like it's like the thinnest materials and the thin bit, and then there's like extra. So like the anyway, that I always thought it was interesting to like kind of under with guitars you're under engineering to like a limit in a way, whereas like building a house you're like shoring things up constantly. So um anyway, yeah. So that's something I was always in my mind when I was growing up. And anyway, finally I moved to the West Coast 2 years ago, and my ex's dad had a shop over there. He had a little baby barn in the back, and he had a jointer, a planer, and all that stuff. And COVID hit, and then it was just kind of like I finally had the time and the place and the kind of the excuse to do all of this. But I had never played a tenor guitar before. I just like I showed my ex a picture of the Fender tenor Telecaster, and like she was like, "I want that one." So we looked at it, and I was like, "Yeah, okay, that's great, but like it's expensive. I think I can make one for about that money. Just give me a little bit of time." Um, and sure enough, I was like way over budget, and it took me 6 months to do the first one. But we got it done, and it plays, and it's still in Vancouver. Um, and then I wanted one for myself, and then a friend of mine wanted one, and then eventually I just started building them because I liked the process, and they always got better as well. Um, and yeah, that was a year and a half, 2 years ago that I just kind of started that. Um, and then now, yeah, I'm at number 12 right now. I just finished number 12. And they've all been tenor guitars. But prior to that, like I played mandolin, and it was fine. I played violin. I played a couple of instruments that were tuned in fifths, and it was okay. But I really like the size of the tenor guitar, and I like that it's got pickups, so I can use my guitar effects on it. Like I can turn on the overdrive, or I can make it clean. It bends like an electric guitar as well. Like there's a lot of the moves that you do on an electric that translate well to the electric tenor, at least a Telecaster. Um, so it's kind of nice to have that little. To me, it's like a hybrid instrument between the two. At least the electric is. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I started out on his guitar as well, and I play a bunch of different instruments, including the mandolin. And I feel like it's like yes, basically the like a cross between a mandolin and a guitar or a six-string guitar in a lot of ways.
Hmm.
So, any particular reason why you chose the Telecaster body and shape?
No, it was really like I showed it to my girlfriend and my ex, and she was like the one she wanted that one. So I made the templates for those, and I just really like it. I don't know. I figured it'd be better for me as a learner, as a learning builder, to maybe like really focus on one thing and like kind of make that thing as good as possible. Um, and kind of keep the parameters mostly similar and kind of learn how materials or pickups or wiring can affect everything rather than do a bunch of one-offs. Yeah, I guess I'm like an intuitive learner, and I like to have a hands-on approach to a lot of things. So I generally do things in series and see how like little changes work or change things. Um, so yeah, that's I guess that's why I'm still making tenor Telecasters and not like, a Strat or something.
But that's cool. And I did notice, I did watch several of your Instagram videos where you did talk a little bit about the changes you made with all the subsequent ones that you built. So can you talk a little bit about that process? Like what made you decide to do the improvements and what were they?
Sure. Um, Um, I guess some of the early ones that I sent out to some friends, they had some feedback on the guitars that well, I mean, I asked for some feedback because I was like, to me, it feels great, but I'd like to hear your opinion about it. And there's some people that mentioned like the components, the electronics, and the finish as well were kind of like good, but they could be improved to make a better instrument. So those were things that I was like specifically told I should probably work on and improve. So like the electronics went from I used to get all my stuff from CB Giddy, and it was just kind of like import style. Like it's just the Telecaster control plate is just one piece. You have the potentiometer, the knobs, and the capacitor, and all that is just a unit. So, but I decided to kind of build it up from scratch now. So there's a different wiring, there's a different capacitor, the potentiometers are upgraded, and the switch is also upgraded as well. Um, and the output jack as well is a new one. So like kind of that whole chain coming out of the pickups is a whole upgraded chain now. So that was one thing the one thing that I changed, and that took a little bit of experimenting to learn what kind of capacitors I like, what values do I like, why do I like, how chunky do I want the knobs, should it be fast, should it be slow. um, so that's that one. And then the body shape, I always knew I liked the body shape, but I felt like the neck heel was kind of really in the way with like my first models. I had a plate on the back, and it was really like really chunky. I wish I had a guitar here. It was a really chunky like neck joint that
Mhm.
where the neck and the body meet. And it was just kind of annoying going up past like the 17th fret or something like that. I don't really play up there very much, but it was kind of nice. I thought it'd be nice to kind of chop some of that away and improve access to it as well.
Mhm.
Um, and when I finished school, I was in school when I was in Vancouver as well on the West Coast. When I finished school, I had like a week or two to bust out a build. So I did one where I took the neck down, sort of the neck heel down, and I also took off the horn as well. And it kind of got this new, I don't know, kind of um, just a new shape that I kind of like. So the drop horn shape with the neck heel reduced as well. And all of a sudden it kind of opened up everything up top, and I really enjoyed it. So I'm really liking that design now. Um, and like the neck camber as well. I was playing with that on one of the builds, but I like the idea. I think I'll do it again, but just in a different way. The way I did it on the one that I have sold now is reduced material from the heel, but then that kind of brings it out of square a little bit. I think it's fine, but I think the best way to do is to remove it from the fingerboard and not from the heel end.
Okay.
Um, and then like tuners get upgraded, and like the neck profile kind of gets slimmer as I go along as well.
Mhm.
Um, and the finishes always get kind of I'm always playing around I'm really not happy with my finishes right now. Like
Okay.
I think they're okay, but it's just like it's not like it's kind of like mastering your own music, right? You spend all the time like composing and writing and playing and performing and mixing, and then like by the time it gets to mastering, you're just like, I don't want to do this anymore. And finishing is kind of the same thing. Like it's just the last thing. And I was kind of like I just don't feel really great about it, so I'm still looking for that approach that works for me and that product that works for me. And then when it gets to like setting up after the finishing, I love that part because it's like it's finally coming to life.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, and talk to me about the pickups. So are you wiring the pickups yourself, or are you just ordering them, or?
Yeah, I'm still kind of, I think right now I'm ordering from 12 or 13 different companies to get all of the parts to make these things. So I'm still getting my pickups from CB Giddy.
Okay.
And they have three models that I use, and because they're all about the same size, they're all the mini humbucker size.
Mhm.
Um, but I do have plans, and I do have a string pickup winding machine that I'm kind of currently building, but I just need to take the plunge to buy some kits from StewMac. They do have some mini Firebird. They have some Firebird pickup kits that I really want to play with. That would be like kind of the next step for me, in, as far as like pickup building goes. And then after that, like ultimately, it'd be nice to make sort of a 4 string version, like a smaller version rather than the big 6 string version, because I find that it's a little big on my guitars now, but it's not too bad. But there's like just extra stuff that doesn't need to be there, so it could be reduced a little bit,
Okay.
under engineered. Yeah.
And so what are you hoping to do? Like, do you have a vision about where you want your guitar building to go, and you know, who you hope to see playing these instruments, things like that?
Yeah, I'd say I have pretty specific ideas for pretty specific goals for building and for how they should look and how they should play. As far as like players and who's having fun with them, Ludo started as like a sort of developmentally friendly or developmentally appropriate approach to like playing instruments. So sort of like the Suzuki method or the Kodai method, where you like you start with the smaller instruments, then you get to the bigger ones, and you can start with 3 or 4 strings, and then you go up to 6 strings.
Mhm.
So this was kind of like my sort of the tenor guitar was kind of like would be like the adolescent model in like the bigger, broader family of Ludo guitar instruments, where there's like a school and there's like some like pedagogical material as well. But um, yeah, I feel like I've kind of strayed from that a little bit. I'm just really enjoying the building, and yeah, I guess there's a lot of work left for me there. So yeah, that's that part there. I'm still kind of discovering as I go along, and I have a couple good, I have a couple buyers that play my guitars quite regularly, and they really love it, and it's kind of really nice. I feel like they're in the scene, like the Americana scene, and that seems to be like really really cool. And then I also like to see like my ex play, and like I have fun with it, and my brother bought one for my nephew, so like it's just kind of like I like to see a really broad range of people playing these things.
Yeah. And any significance behind the name Ludo guitars?
Oh yes, for sure. Well, Ludo's not my name. My name's Nick. But Ludo, it means play in Latin. So I had this like idea of like play. I don't know. It's to kind of reinforce like the developmentally appropriate side of playing, which is like good for. So playing is good for development in children. So that's why I put Ludo in there, and also just kind of keep it light. I don't want these things to get too serious. I want to kind of I want colors to be kind of light, and I want things to be fun and approachable for everybody.
Cool. And so, you've mentioned several times just about developmentally appropriate. So do you have a background in music education as well?
No, I did I have music therapy education, so that's my background. That's where I'm kind of pulling from. My like music like pedagogy background is more just like teaching guitar,
Mhm.
but I didn't really do any. I don't have a degree in that. But in music therapy, like we definitely did a lot of like developmental approaches to music therapy as well. So I just thought it'd be cool to kind of combine that with building guitars. Um, yeah, I thought those two kind of could come together into like a place that's rich for and like helpful for a lot of people.
That's amazing. And actually, this is just something, it's not related to tenor guitars, but I'm just kind of curious about it. On another one of your posts on Instagram, you talked about Vibro Acoustics. Can you
Hmm.
tell me what that is?
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, vibroacoustics is like I guess the body feeling of music, and it's something that's used a lot in some approaches to music therapy in some populations in some parts of the world. Like it's kind of more popular. It's really popular in Australia, but not so much here. Maybe more in Europe. I kind of forget now. But a vibroacoustics, like the general approach, the general way to do it is you build a big chair, or you use like maybe a Pythagorean monochord as well, or like a big, really big a tongue drum that you can sit on and you can feel vibrations, or maybe it's just like you when you go to the weekend rave, in the big friggin' 15-inch speakers rattling your bones. Like that's the idea of the vibroacoustics. but then you can modify the music to make it more exciting or maybe more relaxing, depending on what you need therapeutically or what's most appropriate.
Hmm. And do you know about like what benefits has it shown for the populations that have that they've worked with this stuff with?
Yeah, so the stuff I'm most familiar with is in relaxation.
Mhm.
Um, Relaxation and also working for with like deaf individuals or hard of hearing or sort of like hearing impaired individuals as well. So there's a whole it's hard, like as a sense we're hearing it's hard for us to maybe it's not hard but like we do tend to forget that like you can also feel music. You can think of like maybe Beethoven at the end of his life where he's got the piano on the ground and he's like feeling the, or I don't know if you know Evelyn Glennie, the
No.
percussionist. Anyway, she's a deaf percussionist at like an amazing level, and it's just like everything is felt. I don't know how she does it, but it's like it's incredible. Um, so there's so yeah, we all have the aptitude to, well, maybe not all, but a lot of us have the aptitude to feel music. So the applications that um, I I talked about are kind of where, yeah. Sorry, I get off topic again. Um,
That's okay. No, it's
yeah,
fascinating. And
for sure.
do you think maybe in the future, like I saw that you built something, a particular type of thing, to test that whole drone aspect. So do you think you might go into that more in the future, building particular instruments that might be beneficial for that kind of therapy?
Yeah, for sure. That's always been on the back of my mind. I do want to build like the one that I shared on Instagram was maybe like 15 inches long, but the real ones are like an actual bed that you can lie on, and the whole like the resonating chamber is quite big, and then you can play the strings underneath, and they're all, it's like 60 strings tuned to like C or D or whatever, and it's just like this huge drone.
Can you
Um,
tell people that might not go to your Instagram? Can you tell them what the name of that instrument that I saw was that you built?
sure, yeah. It's a little bit of a misnomer. It's called the monochord,
Okay.
but there's not just one string. It's it's many strings that are tuned to the same note generally, but there's other variances as well. But you can think of like a harp, or maybe like a zither, or like a pin zither, or like, yeah, like a sitar and a tambour. I forget. Anyway, like the droning instruments as well. It's a big resonating body that moves, and it's got strings that you play, and they're generally all tuned to the same note.
That's really cool. Um,
Yeah.
so let's see. So if this is more of a question that I personally want to know, and I'm sure other people would too, like when they go to your Instagram and your YouTube and they see your instruments, like what's about the baseline price of what you charge for a tenor telly?
No, right now it's $900 Canadian.
Okay.
And I have like fairly specific goals as to what I want to charge and when and for what reasons. But right now it's 900.
Mhm.
I think when I get to like a next significant advance, like say I start winding my own pickups, then the price will go up. Or when I find a finish that like really, really rocks, that'll probably bring the price up as well. I still feel like I'm kind of in my like apprentice stage. Maybe I'm hoping by the end of the year, the end of 2023, I'm sorry. By the end of 2023, like I'm thinking like 1100, $1,200, maybe $1,300. And I like to hit like, 15, $1,600 is kind of like my max price because I still want it to be quite affordable. Um, but yeah, right now $900 and yeah.
Well, that is really reasonable, and I think they sound great.
Mhm.
I watched a couple of the different videos. Trying to think to see if I can think of anything else I wanted to ask. So how can people find you?
To get in touch with me,
Yes.
right? So I have an active Facebook account, a YouTube account, and I also have an Instagram account. So those are my three socials that I try to keep active on. It's hard when you're moving, but I tend to post once or twice a week on those things. And there's also an email account that you can message me at. That's ludo.guitars at gmail.com.
Okay.
And then you can send me a message on Facebook, or you can send me a message like a DM on Instagram or on YouTube. I think that works now.
Yeah, I think so too.
Yeah, I have never
Yeah.
used it.
So
Yeah.
if they just search on Instagram or YouTube for Ludo Guitars, Ludo, they should be able to find it.
Yeah, Ludo period guitars, I think
Okay.
on all of them. Yeah.
Oh, okay. I'm trying to think what else. I think that's about it. Is there anything that you want to talk about that I didn't mention?
Um I guess it's good to mention that I'm moving. I'm in the middle of moving now. My I don't know when I'll be active as a builder again for some time.
Okay.
Um so yeah, I lived on the west coast of Canada for the past year and a half, 2 years, where I learned to build these guitars, and now I've moved back to the east coast of Canada, and I just don't have any tools right now. So definitely taking a hiatus. I'm not sure how long it'll take me to get back up and running, but I do have I hope to do a few more guitars this year. I just don't really know what it's going to look like. Um, I have to find new sources of wood and new sources of new places to do things and tools all across the board. So yeah,
And
that could take a little time.
and are you finding any issues like with the supply chain getting certain things as well?
No, no. The main thing is wood for me, because usually buy I buy in bulk, like save a couple dollars. So I have a lot of like stuff backed up for a next set of builds.
Oh, and actually
Like
that brings up a question. Can you talk about the woods that you use for the body and the neck and all that?
yeah, sure. Um, so I guess right now I'm still like experimenting and I'm still discovering what sounds a certain way and why I like it that way. So I've played around with hemlock. So for guitar bodies, I've played around with hemlock, alder, elm, and then I've done a couple drop tops with like uh, a substrate, I guess, of alder and then a piece of walnut on top or a piece of teak on top. Generally, alder is kind of my I like alder a lot. It's got a great sound. I love to go into like some white ash or yeah, probably white ash. I'd stay away from swamp ash because it's not good for the environment. But there's a lot of white ash around, so I like to do that and maybe chamber the body to bring the weight down a little bit. And then for necks, maple is just amazing. I have some roasted maple on my new builds that I quite enjoy, but I also really like just like a plain maple, even like not even a figured maple, just like a kind of a boring maple. I think is just beautiful still. You can really do a good. It's got a different tone than like the figured maples. It's a little, I believe it's a little lower. Like the tap tone is a little bit different, is a little bit lower compared to the same piece if it was figured or bird's eyed. So that helps to reduce the overall like resonant frequency of the instrument a little bit. And I find my guitars to be a little bit toppy sometimes. They bite a little bit too much. So I like to have the instruments and the construction are kind of toppy, but with like the electronics and the pickups and like the flat sawn maple, that'll bring it down. That'll mellow it out a little bit as well, which kind of that's what I like in the instrument. And then for the fingerboards, I've been using granadillo a lot, which is Mexican rosewood, or it's that's what they call it. It's not botanically similar, but it feels pretty good and it looks great. And it's plentiful as well, so I'll probably keep doing that for a little while. It'd be fun to work with some domestic hardwoods for the fingerboard, but like maple just stains and it gets dirty really quick. Oaks, not, it's all the same. Like it's hard to find a rugged and like dark wood that sounds good on a fingerboard. That being said, I haven't tried out walnut yet, so that could be an option. Um, so yeah, those are that's kind of those are the woods that I use.
Okay, and what brand of tuners, what model tuners do you use?
Oh, I use Goto tuners. I get the model around here somewhere, but it's a kind of a entry level Goto tuner, but it works really well. I can buy them in singles as well, so I don't have to buy a pack of six and break it up. I just buy the amount that I need through Bow River Wood to Works, which is out on the west coast. Um, Yeah, and I like them a lot. The Gotos, so they're great.
And what about the bridges? What kind of bridges do you use?
Right now I'm using the CP Giddy 4-string bridges. It's kind of like the chrome hardtail one. You can string through the body or from the top. And there's also one that I made with a roller bridge that is from the same place, but I think I like just the chrome basic ones. But I'd love to get somebody to machine me some bridges because it's kind of like that'd be a place for improvement, you know? Yeah.
Well, cool. Anything else that I forgot?
No, I think everybody's pretty up to date there.
Okay, awesome. So I'm gonna press the stop on the record button, and
Okay.
I won't hang up just yet, but thank you so much.
Okay. Thanks, Karen.
Let's see.